The first one is called Heirloom. When disease steals even your memories, when your house is sold for your care, what happens to the things? Perhaps a loving relative will sort through, apportion mementos to friends and family, hoping you would have approved the choices. The Bible belonging to Mom's Uncle Rutherford, Ralph to friends and family, probably came to him by way of a Bible salesman. Uncle Ralph, from a generation of people who kept the family history, births, baptisms, weddings, and deaths, all archived in pages that rival Ancestry.com, newspaper clippings of birth announcements, marriage certificates, obits, and funeral programs, a file cabinet for a family's pedigree and legacy. Uncle Ralph's Bible was curiously devoid of all but his signature inside the front cover, and the newspaper clipping of an obituary of some woman I never knew. No sermon notes in the margin, no highlighted or underlined favorite verses. The dingy yellow faux leather cover, heated by the summer sun in the car, picked up a faint flocking of green fuzz from the throw with which it shared the back seat. I cleaned it as best I could without destroying it, and finally delivered it to my brother. After all, Uncle Ralph was his favorite. This one is called Kitchen Fiasco. Hummingbird cake, 3 layers of deliciousness, moist and redolent with pineapple, bananas, and spice, layered with cream cheese frosting and pecans. I believe in people having specialties, recipes they're known for, as in, what are you bringing to the potluck, Karen? I refused to learn to make the white chocolate cake because that was my mother's specialty. Hummingbird cake was mine. I will never know what possessed her to frost my hummingbird cake before the layers were thoroughly cooled. The top layer split, a glacier of frosting and cake, calving, threatening to topple off the plate. Some things are so tasty it doesn't matter how they look. Thankfully, hummingbird cake is one of those. Spackling the crack with a generous frosting saved the cake and the day. But Mom, from now on, please keep your fingers out of my dish. This one is called, I'm not sure that Damn It, Maggie is the appropriate response to poetry, but it's the one I gave several times out loud while reading Goldenrod. There are so many wonderful poets in Columbus, and I'm prejudiced to think that most of them live on the east side of town, in enclaves or tree-lined streets. I live a few streets away from this poet, who lives a few more streets from the most prodigious poet I know. I have stalked Maggie's readings for years, at the courtyard of the book loft, all over town, even going downstate to hear her. I wasn't as attentive during her troubles or during the shutdown of pandemic, but she was always in my periphery. Her gamine face in my mind's eye as I read simple, plain-spoken poems of nature and motherhood, things her daughter says and her son does, only to be gut punched by a hook, a turn, a line I didn't see coming. Damn it, Maggie. This one's called The Therapist Says. I don't think I've seen a person so young with so many losses in their life. The child of an older mother, she's been present at funerals since she was barely 2 months old, attending almost as many services as the year she has been alive, as grandparents, uncles, and aunts become ancestors. Losses of family followed by lost friends as she became an adult. She hides her depression well. Ill at ease last week, I gradually realized I was grieving. Taken aback by the loss of yet another friend I remembered too late, found they had died years ago. We are surrounded by loss, awash in grief, as every other day we lose friends, family, and pets, while also mourning loss of routines and traditions, the closing of a favorite restaurant, or the loss of a beautiful dragonfly earring the first time the pair is worn. Thinking of her therapist reminds me of a book I read so many books ago about a young woman mauled by a bear and her torturous recovery. Her therapist told her she needed an experience of hope. We all need an experience of hope. This one is funny because I had it in a critique session, and a couple of people kind of shanghaied the criticism. They didn't like a term I used in there. So I got mad and added some more to the poem later. All right, this is called The Views Through the Sunroof. Light blue sky, wispy cotton candy clouds etched by bare limbs of the black walnut tree, last to get leaves in spring and the first to lose leaves in the fall. The honeysuckle that people tell me is invasive reaches over from the right, tiny leaves evident in their bud sheaths. Invasive. To me, a weed is just a flower growing where someone doesn't want it to be. Like this fly that's on my screen. Sorry about that. The way some hate-filled people consider others unlike themselves. But unless you're indigenous to this country, you too are invasive. Drifting across oceans to new lands or having been forcibly transplanted, creeping across the face of a continent, displacing the original inhabitants, bent on eradication as diligently as some prune honeysuckle and dandelions from their yards. Bits of bark tumble through the opening. A glance upward reveals a hairy woodpecker examining the trunk of the tree above in a patch of blue. A red-tailed hawk hangs for a moment, and all dark thoughts of humans acting inhumanely drift away like the hawk beyond the frame, out of sight. And Robin, no, I don't have a book out. People keep bugging me about it, but I don't yet. So eventually. This one is called Scott Air Force Base, Illinois. I'm a Air Force brat, so and my dad did 2 tours at Scott Air Force Base, and in fact, that's where I graduated high school. And we'll be going to my 50th high school reunion in a couple of months. So, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois. The rumble of jets, my lullaby. The scream of skybound engines, my reveille. I've spent most of my life at the end of a runway or close to one. I come from a world where 4:30 p.m. found cars stopped on base roadsides, occupants outside, saluting while taps played. After my school bus cleared the gate each afternoon, our route took us around the end of the runway. Incoming jets swooped low over us, so close we imagined the scrape of landing gear on the roof, feeling relief when that did not happen. Even today, as I drive Stelzer past the airport, I tap the gas to place myself under the path of incoming flights to experience that feeling again, the relief of a cottontail as the hawk swoops and leaves, talons empty. Okay, I'm gonna attempt this. Who knows how this will go. This is called Soundtrack. There are places I'll remember all my life, though some have changed. Sometimes song snippets get stuck in my head, bits of tune and lyric that pop into my brain when it's not actively engaged in a task. The tunes I hum as I go about the day. The soundtrack of my life, I like to call it. I have fleetingly thought I should chart them for just one day, looking for portents and meanings in the songs, like the ones in Final Destination movies, quirky juxtaposition to grisly fates to come. All these places have their moments with lovers and friends I still can recall. Some are dead and some are living. In my life, I've loved them all. The tune most often on repeat these days, My Life by the Beatles from 1965. No hidden meanings there. The last few weeks have been especially sad. Losses of poets I've known, celebrities and friends, the political ads stirring up old wounds, Medicare ads constantly reminding me of my age and how short my remaining time might be. No wonder melancholy has made herself comfortable on the couch. She plans to be here for a while. This is an older one I wrote, and it's called Grits or Grist. Girls raised in the South, that's grits. Printed in green on an oversized white coffee mug in a Cracker Barrel restaurant stores years ago. The capital G formed by the image of a Southern belle in her wide-brimmed hat, her gloved hand poised at her throat to clutch her pearls. I didn't buy the cup, tempted as I was, because I was not raised in the South, but I am Southern as I can be. Grist, girls raised in Southern tradition. I'm sweet tea on the veranda. I'm condensation rolling down the sides of a tall glass on a day so hot the flies are not buzzing, just resting on plants and windowsills. I'm the lazy clink of a soft, slowly stirred iced tea spoon, a long sip and a dainty ah of satisfaction. Although these days I take my tea with sweet and low, family history of sugar diabetes, you know. I'm fried chicken, potato salad, ham and collard greens, cornbread dripping with butter, tomatoes, green onions and corn from the backyard garden. I'm barbecued ribs, coleslaw, and baked beans full of onions, mustard, and brown sugar. I'm watermelon in the backyard, stereotypes be damned. I am ice cream, hand churned on the back porch, all the children taking turns at the crank. I'm pecan pie, peach cobbler, and hummingbird cake. I'm Granny Blanche's sweet potato pie made with one big sweet potato and one little one. I'm Granddaddy's sand tort pound cake, modified by my mother, adding sour cream and more vanilla, sliced with a table knife, honed to scalpel sharpness with Daddy's whetstone. I am smiles and waves and calling on people after church on Sunday. I'm walks hand in hand along the banks of the creek. I am bourbon flavored kisses under a huge weeping willow. I am cicada song serenades and lightning bug lit lawns. I'm watching clouds on a blanket, lingering after sunset and counting stars in the same spot after moonrise, listening to the moan and clanking of a nearby train. And do you want one more?
Yes.
Okay, let's find another one. Without getting into the sad ones. Yeah, I'll do this one. This one's called Nappy Head. You don't put grease in your baby's hair, do you? No, I refuse to put petroleum-based product in my child's hair because I do not like the smell or feel of grease. Each day, I lovingly slathered her hair with lanolin-rich cream, combed it through, gently parted, sectioned, braided, finished each braid with coordinated barrettes. Gently, because I know all about the tender head admonished for wiggling as a child while my mother transformed me into the old joke, Mommy, Mommy, my braids are too tight. Mama taught me how to braid like her. It was years before I stopped giving myself headaches, learning there was no need for me to put that much tension on anyone's head. My hair and I have always had a precarious relationship, its quirkiness manifesting itself in bangs that stuck straight up on picture day. I was so happy when I beat it into submission with cornrows, braids, and locks. I love the smell, the feel of locks like soft hemp rope. While my daughter and I read together, I would hold her close, my chin on her crown, inhaling the complex mixture of fresh air, rain, little girl. I still run my hands through her hair, touch her locks as often as she will let me. And I guess that'll do it. Thank you.